Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik, and in this video I am showing you how to make cards with butterflies that move and fly on your cards. I am a huge fan of Motion Crafts by Uchi's Designs, animated stamps and dies, and I also love butterflies, so I'm happy to share these cards I made with you. One of my favorite Motion Crafts set is a set of stamps called Vertical Butterflies, and I combined that set with the new double slider die set to make this card. Just watch how the wings of the butterflies flutter and move when we pull the two sliders on these cards. See? Now I know that in the lights and the camera sometimes those grids kind of reflect a little bit, but I'm hoping that you can see. And then I'm going to pull the bottom one, and there's two different butterflies in here, and see how those wings flutter and move. Isn't that cool? I just can't, I'm just in love with these. And these are the animation grids that we used along with a couple of their dies to make this card. But one of the first things several people asked when I first started showing butterfly animated stamps from Uchi's Designs to them, they said, can we see them in color? At that time it was not possible, but Motion Crafts have since come out with their animation die cuts so that we can make our animation grids and our butterflies or any of their other stamps any color we want. I made this card using some pretty blue cardstock from Graphic 45 and blue ink. I just love watching the flutter of those beautiful butterflies' wings when we pull the tabs. Can you see this? And here's the card that we are making in this video, and I'm even loving the purple even more than the blue. So if you can see, as I pull this, those butterfly wings flutter and fly. I could just watch that all day. Isn't that pretty? And here are the supplies that I used to make that card. This set is called Vertical Butterflies, and one thing that's really cool I think about the Motion Crafts and Uchi's Designs packaging is you can actually see the stamps and how they're going to move. So there's three butterflies. There is a love you heart and a thank you, and then the rest of the stamps are do not move, but that's cool because they match, and that's one of my favorite sets. This is the animation grid die, and I'll show it to you on the paper, but it's an actual die. That means that you can cut your own grids rather than using the ones that I showed you, which are very inexpensive to buy and work beautifully, but you have to use black ink and a black grid when you're using these. Whereas with this, you can use any color, well, any bright color, I would say, of ink and paper to cut the grid. I'm just using the one tab. I made the tab of the pull-out thing with this one piece from the animation envelope die set. And I'm using Motion Crafts skinny two-sided tape, and they're double-sided tape strips. So I just got these, and they make it so easy whenever you're doing this type of card or even a shaker card. These higher strips are already cut for you, which is very cool. I'm using a stamp from the Lawn Fawn. It's called Push Here stamp set, and I'm using the Pull Here from this stamp set. I have been told that Motion Crafts is coming out with their own stamp set that has those types of stamps, and I'm looking forward to getting that. But for now, on my card, I wanted it, I don't know, maybe it's obvious, but I don't think so, that to tell the people, make sure, you know, pull here and then you'll see the magic. I'm using a new die that I got from Impression Obsession and it's Greetings, which I thought was just perfect because it could be birthday or any type of greetings. And I'm using I used an oval stitched die from Lil Inker. I like that the stitching is on the inside and the outside, so you have that pattern on both sides from that. And I'm using my new travel stamp platform from Tim Holtz. I'm very excited to say that I just received it, and I really wanted this one because it is the perfect size for my work area. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm working on an area that's about this big, and I loved my big stamp platform. I like all the features. When this first came out, I'm a huge fan. You can change from rubber to clear very easily. I'll show you on that other one because it's a little smaller. You know, good heavy magnets, very sturdy. I love that there's two open sides on it. So you could put a big piece of paper in here, a 12 by 12. And so I've used that a lot. And I've even used it on camera, but it's difficult for me because I really can't open it that well. So when I got my new one, this is perfect for me. It is perfect size. It has the same great features. This one is, I'm using clear stamps on this, so it's clear. But if you wanted rubber, you simply do that. And I personally think the other ones are fine. I think that's easier than putting a pad in and out. So I like that feature a lot. I like the open sides. Again, even on this smaller one, you could put a 12 by 12 piece of paper in here and just stamp on this, you know, half of it and then move it around. So I'm a big fan, I'll admit, and we're going to be using that today. I'm also using a new ink that I've discovered, Catherine Pooler. I'm really liking how that, you know, covers the stamp. I've cut an 11 by 4 1/4 white top folding card base and a 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 piece of floral double-sided cardstock from Recollections. I cut that stitched oval out of that piece, and I've also cut the greetings from Impression Obsession. I don't know what you guys, but I figure you don't need to watch me do the die cutting. If you ever have any questions on anything, please ask, but these videos can get long enough as it is, so some of this work I'm going to do in advance. I have the A2 size top folding card in my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios stamp platform. I laid this down and took a pencil and I made some light marks in the tops and bottom and sides, so I kind of knew what area I was aiming for, where I want to stamp these. Now on this stamp platform, it's so nice because it's very important that these stamps from Motion Crafts be straight. If they are not straight, the grid, no matter what kind you're using, is not going to work properly to give you that motion. So along the bottom of these stamps, Motion Crafts now have a very straight line for you to use, and you can line that straight line up with a line on the grid. So it makes it really easy to do that. So I have lined those up with a line on the grid, and am now going to ink them up with this beautiful purple ink. And even if you get a little on the grid, that's not going to stamp on the paper, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. And if it isn't perfect the first time, as you know, one of the great features of a stamp platform means you can ink it again. And so that should be good and dark. I want to clean this up before just erase these lines. Now, the grid piece was cut to 3 inches wide by 5 3/4 tall, and I cut the tab with a piece from the animation envelope die set, and I stamped pull here from that stamp set I showed you. I die cut one pass with the animation die grid, so you can see that I've die cut one here. But what is very cool about this die is that you can extend it to make your colorful grid wider or longer as needed for your card. All you need to do is line up the back to see through the lines and holes in the lines you already cut, and then run it through your die cutting machine. So I'm going to try to hold this up and show you that there are little dots along each side, and those lines are clear, so you can, it's pretty easy to line it up and then tape it in place, and then I run it through my die cut machine twice. It's a very detailed die, but it does cut very nicely. I have a Gemini. And what I like to suggest is, when you know it's a detailed die, is to just change the direction of it the next time you put it through. Although it might have cut just beautifully, but we're just going to change the direction of it a little bit and run it through again. This die also cuts very well in my Tonic Studios Tangerine, and what I've been told is you know, if I run it through twice and I run it at different angles, it cuts wonderfully. If you have any issues, be sure to check your manufacturer's specifications. Some of them, I think they recommend the detail plate, I think that's what it's called. But as you can see, take this tape off. That cut just fine, and then all you do is you just take something and you just get rid of these pieces that are in the die. I had this set up so that tape was on there for a while, so I can kind of feel a little stickiness here, so I'm just going to get rid of that with my adhesive eraser. Now let's check to see if the grid is going to work and is going to make our butterfly's wings flutter and fly. Isn't that cool? I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. Okay, so we are going to put double-sided foam strips on the side of the grid piece and this on the sides. So this is going to be on here like this, and we want the these pieces to just raise this up a little bit and kind of create a track. And then we want some of this skinny tape along the bottom just to hold it flat. And then what is always suggested is to take some powder and just go along the sides here. Make sure that nothing is sticking where it's not supposed to. So what I like to do when I am trying to line two pieces of paper up, a piece of paper on top of a card that is folded. If I do this and I'm a little low on the top, you can't fix that. That's where your fold is. So one thing that was taught to me years ago is to use a score buddy or a score tool type product and put your card base right in the corner and take the piece of paper, and I'm going to try to keep my head out, but it's difficult to do, and line it up in the corner and make sure your top is lined up and your side. If a little white shows here and here, you can trim that easily. But if the top is not straight, you can't really trim that, can you? So I can see a little bit of the white on the side. That's not a problem to trim that. But let's just check to make sure our grid is going to work beautifully. Cool. Going to trim this white that's showing on the side off. So our grid fits in there, and when they pull it, they're going to see those beautiful butterfly wings fly and flutter. Now I punched a couple of extra butterflies. I'm using an old Martha Stewart punch, so I don't think it's available anymore. And I sponged it with that same beautiful purple Royal Treatment ink from Catherine Pooler and put a gem on there. And I'm just going to use a couple glue dots to attach those. So our beautiful purple butterfly card is complete. It says greetings, and our wings flutter and fly when we move it up and down. I love how these butterflies move and fly when we pull the tab. Thanks for watching, sharing, subscribing, and helping me share the joy of creativity.